Hello, welcome to Westeros After Dark. I invite you to settle in comfortably, close your eyes, and take a deep breath. Feel the weight of your body gently ease with each exhale. As you begin to relax, imagine yourself transported to a faraway place, a warm, sunlit city where the sounds of life hum in the air. Today, we're going to journey to the heart of Meereen, a city on the vast continent of Essos, where the skies are often streaked with the shadow of immense, powerful creatures. Picture yourself on a hot afternoon, the sun beating down on the stone buildings of the city, while the streets bustle with activity. But what we're here to explore isn't the busy markets or crowded squares, but a quieter, humbler task. A task of patience and care. You are one of the people tasked with cleaning the dragon stables of Daenerys Targaryen. It's not an easy job, but it's an important one. Each dragon, with its immense presence and majesty, requires special attention. The heat of the day mingles with the heat of their heavy breaths. You're about to begin your workday, surrounded by the scent of ash and the soft breeze that stirs the dust in the stables, the quiet clinking of chains, the crackling of distant flames. As you prepare for this simple, repetitive task, imagine yourself immersed in the calm of the moment. And now, with all of this in mind, let us gently step into this world, where work and tranquility intertwine. Meereen, the city of dragonfire and sun-drenched stone. A place where the air is thick with heat, the streets full of voices speaking in languages both strange and familiar. It is here that you find yourself, standing at the edge of the dragon stables, the soft dust beneath your feet swirling in the warm breeze. You've grown accustomed to this city, though each day still feels a little different. The sun rises early here, casting its golden light over the city's towering walls. The stone buildings, once a pale gray, now take on a golden hue as the day begins. The smell of spices, leather, and warm earth fills the air, a sharp contrast to the occasional sulphurous scent of dragon fire that lingers after a recent flight. The sounds of Meereen are unlike those of any other city. The drums of the marketplace can be heard in the distance, blending with the chatter of vendors hawking their wares. Yet, in the corner of the city where the dragon stables lie, a different kind of stillness hangs in the air. It's quieter here, but not in the way you'd expect from a place that houses some of the world's most fearsome creatures. No, the stillness here feels like a quiet respect. A sense that the dragons, Drogon, Regal, and Viserion, are always near, watching over the land, their presence felt even when they're not in sight. You walk into the stables with a sense of reverence, knowing that the task you are about to perform, while simple, is one that keeps the balance between man and beast. The first thing you notice as you approach the stables is the heat. The thick stone walls retain the warmth of the sun, creating an almost suffocating atmosphere. The scent of burning wood and ash lingers in the air, remnants of the dragon's fiery breath. You've become familiar with it by now, but it still stirs something deep inside you, a reminder of the power that lies just beyond the stone walls. As you step inside, the familiar sights and sounds greet you. The sound of chains clinking softly as Drogon shifts in his pen. His wings, though magnificent, seem almost too large for the space. He's curled in the corner, his body coiled like a great serpent, his eyes half closed in a peaceful slumber. The gentle rise and fall of his chest is the only indication of his breathing. Beside him, Regal and Viserion sleep as well, their massive forms sprawled across the cool stone floor. Their scales glint faintly in the dim light, a mix of deep green and silver that shifts with the light as you move through the stable. The firelight dances across their bodies, casting long shadows that stretch across the walls. You take a moment to observe them, feeling a deep sense of awe. These dragons, once wild and untamable, are now part of the fabric of Meereen, just as much a part of the city as the people who walk its streets. They are creatures of destruction, yes, but they are also creatures of beauty and grace. In their stillness, they seem almost peaceful, though you know that beneath the surface lies the untamed spirit of a beast who could easily destroy everything in its path. The task before you today is simple, yet essential. You must clean the stables. It's a routine that you've come to know well, though there are days when it feels like the heat and the scent of the dragons is more than you can bear. But today, the air feels lighter, as if the dragons themselves have blessed you with a moment of calm. As you gather your tools, a brush, a shovel, and a bucket of water, you begin to work. The first step is always to clear away the ashes from the previous day. With a steady hand, you scrape the remnants of dragon fire from the stone floor, the sound of the metal scraping against the rock a soothing rhythm that fills the silence. The dragons remain still, their eyes closed, their breathing slow and steady. They are used to your presence by now. At first, they were skittish, wary of you as you cleaned their space. But over time, they've come to tolerate you, and even respect you, as you go about your work. They don't seem to mind your presence anymore, though you always approach them with the utmost care. With each scrape of the shovel, the stable grows a little cleaner. You work slowly, deliberately, taking care to remove every bit of ash, every trace of the fire that the dragons leave behind. It's a repetitive task, but there's something meditative about it. The rhythm of the work is steady, calming, allowing your mind to drift as your hands move in a familiar pattern. The heat presses down on you, but it's not uncomfortable. It's the kind of heat that you've grown used to, the kind that seeps into your bones and makes you feel like a part of the land itself. The sound of your breath mingles with the soft rustling of the dragon's wings, creating a peaceful ambience that surrounds you like a warm blanket. As you continue your work, you notice the faintest stir from Drogon. His eyes flicker open for a moment, and you freeze, holding your breath. For a brief second, you wonder if he will rise and come toward you, his fiery breath igniting the air. But instead, he simply shifts his weight, curling a little tighter into his resting position. You exhale, releasing the tension that had built up in your chest. The dragons are at peace, and so, for now, are you. You return to your task, each motion slow and purposeful, the routine of the work grounding you in the moment. The day stretches on, the heat growing more intense as the sun climbs higher in the sky. The work continues at a steady pace, the rhythmic sound of your actions filling the air. As you clean, your mind drifts, thinking back to the early days when you first arrived in Meereen. The city was a wild place then, full of uncertainty, fear, and the constant threat of rebellion. But now, things have changed. Daenerys has brought a sense of order to the city, and while the dragons still cast a long shadow over the streets, there's a kind of peace in Meereen now. You've seen it in the faces of the people, the way they no longer run in fear when Drogon takes to the skies. There's still a sense of awe, of course, but it's different now. It's a respect, a recognition of the power the dragons hold, but also of the responsibility that comes with that power. You pause for a moment, wiping the sweat from your brow and taking the sight of the dragons once more. They are more than just beasts of war. They are symbols of Daenerys' strength, of the change she's brought to this land. In their stillness, they are a reminder of her power, of the transformation that is taking place in Meereen. But it's not just the dragons who have changed. You have too. When you first arrived, the task of cleaning the stables seemed daunting, even overwhelming. But now, it feels like second nature. You learn to move in rhythm with the dragons, to respect their space and their presence. You've learned to find peace in the monotony of the work, to let your thoughts wander as you go about your duties. With each passing day, the dragons become less of a mystery and more of a familiar presence. And in their presence, you've found your own sense of calm. As you continue with the task at hand, the morning hours stretch on slowly, the warmth of the air wrapping around you like a heavy blanket. The dragon's breaths are deep and steady, the only movement in the otherwise still stables. Drogon shifts again, his great form slightly adjusting, but he remains settled, his wings barely rustling against the stone. Regal and Viserion are still, their bodies unmoving, save for the occasional flick of a tail or the subtle twitch of a claw. You return your focus to the task. With the ashes cleared, it's time to prepare the fresh bedding. You pick up the large sack of soft hay, its fibers smelling faintly of dry grass and earth. The process of spreading the hay is a calming one, almost ritualistic. You take your time, spreading it evenly across the floor of the stable, making sure each section is covered. The rustling of the hay as it falls creates a soft, almost whispering sound, adding to the quiet ambience of the stables. There's something peaceful about the repetition of this act. The way the hay falls in gentle clumps, how it shifts and settles into place. It reminds you of the simplicity of life in Meereen now. Gone are the days of chaos and unrest. Now, life is slower, more predictable. The task at hand, though modest, is a reminder of the steady rhythm that has come to define your days here. As you work, you notice the cracks in the walls of the stable, small, almost imperceptible, but enough to remind you that the city itself, just like the dragons, is aging. Time moves differently in Meereen. The sun always seems to be at its peak, casting a golden glow over everything, but beneath the surface, you know that things are changing. The city has evolved since Daenerys took control, and so have you. The once foreign surroundings have become familiar. The once feared dragons have become part of the fabric of your daily life. You pause for a moment, taking in the stillness. There's a certain serenity in the stables, one that contrasts sharply with the bustle of the city outside. Here, it's just you and the dragons, the quiet work stretching out before you. It's a solitude that brings a kind of peace, almost like a meditation. With each scoop of hay, you find yourself sinking deeper into the rhythm of the work, the heat, and the noise of the city outside fading into the background. The warmth of the stone beneath your feet, the faint sound of the dragon's breathing, and the soft rustling of the hay all combine to create a gentle cocoon around you. There is no rush here, no need for hurry. The work will be done when it is done, and for now, all that matters is the steady rhythm of your hands. You move from one dragon to the next, making sure that each pen is carefully tended to. Regal, lying closest to you, is a deep green in color, his scales glistening in the dim light. His breathing is deep, almost serene, as if he is dreaming. You work around him quietly, not wanting to disturb his rest. His form is so large that it takes some careful maneuvering to get around him, but you've learned to move with ease, respecting the space that he occupies. The sound of your shovel scraping against the stone floor is a soft interruption to the quiet. It's not a loud sound, but it's distinct enough to break the otherwise still atmosphere. As you move to clean the other areas of the stable, you catch sight of Viserion, his silver scales shimmering slightly even in the dim light. He remains undisturbed by your presence, his large body sprawled across the floor in peaceful repose. There's a moment, just a fleeting second, where you wonder if the dragons are truly sleeping or simply watching you through half-closed eyes. The way they remain so still, so quiet, it almost feels like they are in tune with everything around them. The dragons, despite their power, seem to live in a world of their own, one where time moves slowly, and their only concern is the next moment of rest, the next breath. With each passing moment, the stable feels more and more like home. There's a rhythm to the work here, one that doesn't require thought. The motions are simple, repetitive, almost meditative. You focus on your breathing, the sounds around you, and the task before you. It's a kind of peace that comes from knowing exactly what needs to be done. You finish spreading the hay in Drogon's pen and stand back for a moment to admire your work. The floor is covered in soft bedding, and the air, while still warm, feels a little more comfortable. Drogon shifts slightly, but it's a gentle motion, as if he's acknowledging the care you've taken with his space. The dragons remain still, their bodies heavy with the quiet weight of sleep. You step back and survey the stables one more time, ensuring everything is in place. The air smells cleaner now, fresher, the heavy scent of ash replaced by the subtle earthy aroma of the hay. It's a small change, but it's enough to make the stables feel more comfortable, more inviting. As you finish up, the heat of the day grows more intense. The sun is high in the sky now, its rays pouring through the open windows of the stable, casting long shadows across the floor. The sound of the city beyond begins to filter in. Distant voices, the hum of life, the faint murmur of the marketplace. But inside the stable, it's still. The dragons remain asleep, and you, too, feel the weight of the heat, the stillness, and the quiet work you've completed. There's a sense of accomplishment in the simplicity of it all. The stable is clean, the dragons are settled, and for now, your work is done. It's not a glamorous task, and it's certainly not a task that will make you famous, but there's something deeply satisfying about it. There's a quiet dignity in the work, a peace that comes from knowing you've cared for these creatures, these powerful, ancient beings. And as you gather your tools, preparing to leave the stables for the day, you can't help but feel a sense of contentment. The dragons will rest, the stable will remain quiet, and you will return again tomorrow to do it all over again. It's a simple, repetitive task, but it's a task that brings you a kind of peace. And in a city as chaotic as Meereen, that peace is something to cherish. After the final touches are made, you step back from the work. The stable is quiet again. The rustling of hay has ceased, and the clinking of tools has faded away. In the stillness, the dragons seem almost like statues, immobile, yet alive, with their steady breaths a reminder of the immense power contained within their vast bodies. You become accustomed to their presence over time. At first, you are nervous, unsure how to approach such majestic, fearsome creatures. But now, it feels almost natural. You've learned the subtle language of the dragons, how to move quietly around them, how to respect their space. They don't stir when you work, as if they'd come to understand that you are no threat. Drogon is the largest of them, his dark scales, like coals smoldering in the firelight. He's not one for much movement. His eyes, when they do open, are sharp and intelligent. But for now, they remain closed, his head resting against his folded wings. He has a regal air about him, even in his sleep, a reminder of the power he wields. You take a moment to watch him, studying the curve of his massive body, the way his wings are folded neatly along his side. It's almost impossible to think of him as a wild creature now. He's become a part of the world, a fixture in the landscape of Meereen. His size is intimidating, but there's a gentleness to him in this quiet moment. Next, your gaze shifts to Regal. His green scales gleam softly, like moss covered in dew. He's positioned at the far side of the stable, curled in on himself. Regal, unlike Drogon, has a more playful air to him when he's awake. But in his sleep, he's just as peaceful. His breathing is deep, steady, uninterrupted by the day's work or the sounds of the outside world. You've come to realize that, despite their size, the dragons have an almost delicate grace to them. And then, there's Viserion, the silver dragon, whose gleaming scales shimmer like moonlight. His beauty is unlike the others, softer, almost ethereal. His form is elegant, stretching out on the stone floor, his long tail curled neatly by his side. Viserion, too, is silent in his sleep, his movements slow and deliberate, just like the others. The silence in the stable is a shared one, as if they've all come to know that this space is a place of rest, a place where time slows down, and the world outside fades away. The dragons, despite their overwhelming power and fire-breathing fury, seem so small in these moments. Their stillness is a contrast to the chaos they can bring. It's almost as if, for all their strength, they too need this time to simply be. You find yourself lingering in the quiet, unsure whether to leave just yet. The day is still young, and the work is done. But there's something about the stillness in the air that makes you hesitant to break it. The dragons are at rest, their forms stretched out in peaceful slumber, and you don't want to disturb them. Instead, you take a moment to simply breathe, to listen to the soft sounds around you, the occasional flicker of flame, the distant hum of the city, and the deep, steady breathing of the dragons. It's in these moments of quiet that you feel closest to them. They are not just beasts of war, but creatures of rhythm, of cycles. The dragons live on their own time, untouched by the rush of the world outside. There's a beauty in their patience, in the way they move through the world at their own pace, regardless of the chaos around them. As you stand there, a gentle breeze stirs the air in the stable, the scent of hay and stone mingling with the faint trace of dragon fire that always lingers in the air. The sound of the fire crackling softly is the only other noise in the room. It's easy to lose yourself in these quiet moments, easy to forget that outside the stable walls, the city is bustling with activity. But in here, in this space where the dragons rest, time seems to stretch and slow. You could stand here for hours, simply watching them, listening to the soft rise and fall of their chests. You think about the world beyond Meereen, about the years before Daenerys came to power, when the city was a place of war and fear. It feels like a lifetime ago. Now, the streets are safer. The people are more at ease. Even the dragons, who once struck fear into the hearts of those who saw them, have become a part of the city's heartbeat. But even in the quiet, you know there's always the possibility of change. The dragons have been a symbol of power for Daenerys, but they are also unpredictable, wild creatures. There are always whispers of unrest in the city, of rebellion, of people who resent the presence of the Targaryens and the dragons. Yet, for now, the stillness remains. The dragons rest. Meereen is at peace. The task is done, but the day is still young. You stand at the threshold of the stable, feeling the heat of the sun still pouring through the open windows. The warmth on your skin is a reminder that the world beyond the stables is always in motion, always moving forward. But inside this space, it's different. Inside, time slows down. The world feels far away. The dragon's peaceful slumber seems to stretch the hours, and for a moment, you find yourself wishing that it could stay this way forever. But the day will go on. The city outside will continue its rhythm, and the dragons will eventually wake. Their rest won't last forever, and neither will yours. You stretch slowly, feeling the quiet of the early hours wrap around you. The distant sounds of the city start to rise as people begin their daily routines, but within the stables, everything remains peaceful. The dragons are still asleep, their deep, steady breaths echoing softly against the stone walls. The work begins slowly, as it always does. There's no rush. The first task is always the same, preparing the space. You take your broom, its worn wooden handle familiar in your hands, and begin sweeping the floor gently. The sound of the bristles scraping against the stone is constant, almost hypnotic. Each motion is deliberate, without haste, just the simple act of cleaning and maintaining the space around you. As you sweep, the dragons remain still, their bodies sprawling in the cool morning air. Drogon, as always, occupies the farthest corner of the stable, his wings folded neatly at his sides. Regal and Viserion are nearby, their forms quiet and calm, a striking contrast to their fierce reputations. They lie in peaceful slumber, the only indication of their presence the gentle rise and fall of their chests. The quiet of the morning is a welcome break from the bustling city outside. The air smells faintly of the dried hay and ash that remains from the previous day's fires. There's a certain stillness that fills the stable, an almost sacred silence, where only the sound of your broom moving and the dragon's breathing can be heard. As the last of the dust settles, you set the broom aside, taking a quiet moment to admire the stillness in the stables. The sunlight is stronger now, casting a soft golden hue over the room. The air is warmer, signaling the start of the day. The time for rest is over, and now it's time to feed the dragons. You move slowly, not wanting to disturb them just yet. Drogon, the largest, remains in his corner, a hulking mass of black scales. His massive chest rises and falls with each breath, his wings folded tightly against his body. He sleeps deeply, but there's a quiet intensity in his presence. You know that once he wakes, his appetite will be fierce. You approach the feeding area, your steps light and deliberate. The wooden trough is already prepared, filled with a special mix of meat and vegetables that you've learned to prepare for the dragons. The scent of fresh meat fills the air, sharp and pungent. It's a necessary part of the job, though not always pleasant. First, you set the bowl of water by Drogon's side. The water is always cool and refreshing, a contrast to the heat that builds inside the stable. You watch him for a moment, considering how to wake him without startling him too much. Drogon has always been the most temperamental, the hardest to rouse gently. But over time, you've learned his habits, how to move, how to speak softly, how to make your presence known without causing alarm. You clear your throat softly, just enough to make a sound. Drogon's eyes flicker open, his dark pupils narrowing as he assesses his surroundings. For a moment, his gaze fixes on you, and you can feel the weight of his intelligence. It's a quiet exchange, one that happens in the silence of the stable. Then, without much fanfare, Drogon slowly lifts his head, stretching his long neck and letting out a deep, slow breath. He's awake now, and the feeding can begin. You step back, giving him space, but watching carefully as Drogon lumbers toward the food. His movements are slow, deliberate, the strength in his limbs evident with each step. As he lowers his head to begin eating, you feel the slight tremor in the air, the power contained in his massive body. He's not just a creature of fire, he's a force of nature, as much a part of the world as the wind or the earth. Next, you turn your attention to Regal and Viserion. Regal, the green dragon, stirs slightly, his golden eyes opening slowly. He seems calmer today, his movements more fluid as he stretches his wings and unfurls his long tail. Viserion, the silver one, is more sluggish, but his eyes soon flicker open as well. You begin to feed them, starting with Regal. He moves gently, almost daintily, as he eats, his green scales shimmering in the sunlight. His eyes follow you with a quiet curiosity, but he remains focused on his food. Viserion is a little slower to rise, but he too begins to eat, his silver scales reflecting the light like water on a calm day. The sounds of eating fill the stable, the gentle crunch of bones and meat, the soft slurps of water being consumed. It's a familiar sound, one that marks the beginning of the day. As you watch them, you can't help but feel a deep sense of respect for the dragons. They are both terrifying and beautiful, their strength unmatched by any creature you've encountered. Yet, in moments like this, when they are calm and focused on something as simple as food, they seem almost like any other animal. You take a step back and let them finish their meal in peace. The feeding doesn't take long, just a few minutes, but it's a time when the dragons are more vulnerable, more connected to the world around them. There's something grounding about it, something that reminds you of the quiet strength in these creatures. As they finish their meal, the stable grows quiet once again. The dragons settle back into their resting positions, their massive bodies curled up and their eyes half closed as they digest. The soft sounds of their breathing fill the space once more. You take a moment to gather the empty bowls and utensils, cleaning up the remnants of their meal. The task is simple, but it feels important. Every action you take is a small part of the routine that helps the dragons thrive, that ensures they remain healthy and strong. The quiet returns to the stable. The dragons are at rest again, and you can almost feel the peace that settles over the space. With the feeding done, you take a step back, allowing the dragons to rest and digest, knowing that the rest of the day will unfold slowly, just as it always does. With the dragons fed and content, the next task is always the same: cleaning the stables. It's not the most glamorous part of your job, but it is necessary, and it's a task you've grown to find a rhythm in. The dragons need a clean space to rest, just as you do, and it's your responsibility to ensure they're comfortable. You begin by gathering your cleaning tools: a large broom, a shovel, and a bucket of water. The stables, though large, don't require much beyond the basics. It's the simple routine that has become second nature to you: sweeping the stone floors, gathering up the hay, and making sure the air is as fresh as it can be in such a hot, enclosed space. The first step is always sweeping. You start at the farthest end of the stable, where Drogon still lies, and work your way towards the open air. As you move the broom across the floor, the sound is steady and rhythmic. The swish of the bristles is almost meditative, a background hum to the stillness of the stables. Each movement is deliberate, sweeping up the remnants of the dragon's meals, the stray bits of hay that is scattered across the floor. The stable's warmth presses in on you, but it's not uncomfortable. It's the kind of heat you've become accustomed to, the kind that settles deep in your bones. The scent of the dragons is ever present, a mix of earthy hay, dragon fire, and the faint tang of leather. The smell is heavy, but not unpleasant. It's the scent of the creatures you care for, of the work you do here. Drogon shifts slightly as you work around him, his massive tail flicking gently across the floor, but he doesn't stir otherwise. You've become used to working around the dragons while they're at rest. It's a careful balance, moving quickly enough to complete your task, but quietly enough to avoid disturbing their sleep. Next, you move to the corners of the stable where the most mess has collected. You scoop up the remnants of ash and other debris with the shovel, each scrape of the metal against stone producing a soft, grating sound. The ash has a fine texture to it, and it's important to remove every trace of it, lest it irritate the dragons or interfere with their rest. As you work, the dragons remain undisturbed. Regal, the green dragon, is still curled up at his corner, his wings slightly spread as he settles deeper into sleep. Viserion, on the other side, is quiet, his silver scales glowing faintly in the low light of the stable. You've learned the art of moving around them without causing them distress. The key is patience, and over time, you've mastered it. There's a certain understanding between you and the dragons now, an unspoken agreement that you will care for them and give them the space they need, and in return, they will let you do your work in peace. The sound of the shovel scraping against the stone echoes through the stable, but it's not harsh. It's a soft noise, almost soothing in its familiarity. It blends into the background, a constant reminder of the steady work you do every day. The dragons remain undisturbed, lost in their dreams, and you feel the weight of the quiet settle around you. Once the floor is cleared, you begin the task of replacing the bedding. The fresh hay is piled high, a soft, green mix of straw and dried grasses. You begin to spread it evenly across the stone floor, working your way through each of the dragon's pens. The hay falls softly, creating a gentle rustling sound as it settles into place. It smells sweet and earthy, a refreshing contrast to the scent of dragon fire and ash. You take your time with this part of the task. The dragons are still at rest, and you don't want to rush. The quiet of the stable is soothing, and you find yourself lost in the motion of your work. The simple, repetitive act of spreading the hay is a comfort. It's a peaceful, meditative task, one that doesn't require much thought. You can simply focus on the motions of your hands and the soft sounds of the dragon's breathing. With the stable cleaned and the fresh hay in place, the morning's tasks are nearly complete. The dragons are still at rest, their massive forms taking up much of the space, their breathing slow and steady. The air inside the stable has shifted, the warmth of the sun outside mingling with the cool, calming atmosphere of the stables. The work is done, and now, For a brief moment, there's nothing left to do but enjoy the stillness. You step back and take in the sight of the stables, feeling a quiet satisfaction in the simplicity of it all. The floor is swept, the bedding is fresh, and the dragons are well fed. There's a sense of completion that comes with this task, a sense of purpose, even in the quiet monotony. With a soft sigh, you lean against the stone wall of the stable, watching the dragons as they rest. Drogon, the dark figure in the corner, his wings tucked in close, breathes deeply. Regal, the green dragon, is nestled in the opposite corner, his golden eyes flickering softly beneath his eyelids as he dreams. Viserion, the silver dragon, remains curled up near the center, his form almost delicate despite his immense size. The silence is comforting, broken only by the soft rustle of the dragons as they shift slightly in their sleep. It's moments like this, quiet, peaceful, that you cherish the most. There is no rush, no urgency. Everything is in its place, and the world outside seems far away. Inside the stable, time slows, and you feel at ease. You've grown accustomed to this life. It may not be exciting or filled with grand adventure, but there's a kind of beauty in it. The dragons are your responsibility, and in caring for them, you've found a rhythm, a steady routine that brings comfort. It's a life lived in service to these ancient, majestic creatures. They are more than just beasts of war. They are part of you now, part of the fabric of your daily existence. As you stand there, leaning against the wall, you think about the future, about the city of Meereen, about Daenerys and her rule. The dragons, though wild and powerful, are also symbols of something greater. They represent a future that is both uncertain and full of possibility. You are a part of that future, even in this small, quiet way. The dragons, too, are part of that uncertain future, but in moments like this, they are simply creatures of rest and routine, like you. There's no fire, no battle, no urgency. Just peace. Just a quiet bond between the Dragon Keeper and the dragons. With the last of the morning tasks finished, you take one final glance at the dragons as they sleep. They're breathing even and peaceful. You step quietly out of the stable, knowing that you will return later, that the dragons will always be there, waiting. For now, though, it's time to step outside, to let the day unfold in its own way. Meereen, with all its heat and hustle, waits beyond the stable doors. But for now, as you step back into the world outside, you carry with you the quiet peace of the stable, the calm of the dragon's rest, the steady rhythm of your work, and the comfort of knowing that tomorrow will be much the same. The sun is already high in the sky when you make your way back to the stables, the heat of the day pressing down on you like a heavy blanket. The streets of Meereen are alive with activity, the sounds of merchants calling out to passers-by, and the occasional clatter of hooves on the cobblestones filling the air. But inside the stables, there's a calmness that feels worlds apart from the bustling city outside. Today is different from the usual routine. There's something more to the day, training. It's a necessary part of the dragon's care, an opportunity to strengthen the bond between you and the creatures, and also to ensure that they remain disciplined and responsive. Drogon, Regal, and Viserion are not pets. They are formidable, wild creatures, and training is an essential part of ensuring that they do not become too unpredictable, too dangerous. As you approach the stable, you take a moment to steady yourself, preparing for the task ahead. The dragons are more than just creatures of instinct. They are incredibly intelligent, and their reactions can be unpredictable, especially when they are roused from sleep or their routines are disturbed. You know that a careful, measured approach is necessary. Each dragon requires its own unique touch. You enter the stable quietly, not wanting to startle them. The cool air inside offers a welcome relief from the heat outside, and the familiar scent of hay and dragon fire fills your lungs as you step deeper into the stable. The dragons are still resting, their bodies sprawled across the stone floor, each one a massive figure in the dim light. First, you check Drogon. His black scales blend into the shadows, and for a moment, you wonder if he's awake, but his deep breathing tells you otherwise. You move closer, making sure not to get too close too quickly. Drogon is the most temperamental of the three, and even the smallest disturbance can lead to an unpredictable reaction. You gather your training equipment, a long staff, a whip, and a set of leather straps. The staff is used to guide Drogon through his movements, to get him to focus on you and your commands. The whip is a tool of last resort, used only when necessary to maintain control, to keep Drogon's attention on you. The leather straps are for binding, to secure the dragons when needed, though they are rarely used. With the tools in hand, you prepare for the first lesson. Today, you're focusing on command response, getting Drogon to obey simple commands like sit or stay. The idea is to keep his attention focused, to prevent him from becoming distracted by the world around him or the scents that fill the stable. You approach Drogon slowly, keeping your movements deliberate and calm. He's a creature of immense power, but there is a stillness to him when he's resting, a quiet that allows you to move around him with relative ease. As you reach him, you gently lay a hand on his shoulder, feeling the warmth of the scales beneath your fingertips. His body is solid and unyielding, a reminder of the strength he carries within. Drogon, you say softly, your voice low and calm. There's no need to raise your voice when addressing him. The dragons are incredibly sensitive to tone, and a sharp word could upset them. It's time to begin the lesson. His eyes flicker open slowly, his massive head lifting just enough to acknowledge your presence. You pause for a moment, letting him adjust to the shift in energy. Drogon's gaze locks onto yours, his dark eyes full of ancient intelligence. For a brief moment, you feel the weight of his power, the fire that lies dormant just beneath the surface. But it's not time for that yet. Not today. Drogon's eyes flicker again, a deep, fiery glow sparking briefly before his heavy lids lower, signaling that he is still in the process of waking. You take a step back, giving him the space he needs, but you remain close enough to guide him. Slowly, he lifts his great head, his nostrils flaring as he inhales deeply, sensing your presence. His attention shifts, and you know this is your moment. You take the staff in hand, its wood smooth and worn from years of use, and approach Drogon cautiously, positioning yourself at the dragon's side. The staff is not a weapon, but a tool of guidance. You'll need to keep Drogon focused, to prevent his restless energy from veering into something more dangerous. The task at hand is simple but vital, getting Drogon to respond to the first command. Drogon, you say again, this time a little firmer but still calm. Sit. The word is simple, a command he's heard many times before, though he's not always in the mood to obey. Drogon's vast body shifts slightly, his massive legs stretching out. His gaze, though steady and calculating, remains on you. He's watching, waiting for the next move. You tap the staff lightly against the ground, a rhythmic beat to catch his attention, and then step slightly to the side. The motion is subtle, a shift in your stance that invites Drogon to follow. The dragons are incredibly attuned to body language, so you must be careful in your movements. Any misstep can cause confusion. For a long moment, nothing happens. Drogon's eyes remain on you, unwavering, his massive chest rising and falling slowly with each breath. You know he understands. It's not a matter of comprehension. It's a matter of patience. Drogon is testing you. He's determining whether you are truly in control, or if he can simply ignore the command and return to his rest. Then, slowly, he begins to lower his body. The muscles in his back shift, and with a soft grunt, Drogon sinks his hindquarters toward the stone floor. It's a smooth, deliberate motion, and you can't help but feel a sense of pride at the sight. The first command, executed. You don't let yourself relax just yet, though. You remain focused, keeping your posture steady and your breathing even. Drogon has responded, but this is only the beginning. A simple sit is just the first step. The dragons, like all creatures of great strength, need constant reminders of their place and purpose. They can't be allowed to wander too far into their instincts, lest their unpredictable nature take over. You step closer to Drogon, your hand gently resting on his scaled side. His warmth is comforting, though it's also a reminder of how close you are to a creature capable of immense power. You must always be aware of that. The moment you forget, you risk losing the bond of control. "Good, Drogon," you whisper, your voice low but steady. "Stay." The next step is teaching him to remain seated until released. You take a few steps back, keeping eye contact with him. Drogon's gaze follows you, his tail twitching slightly, but his body remains still. The stillness in the stable is almost tangible now, the tension between you and Drogon palpable. It's not aggression, it's the quiet understanding that you both share. He's waiting for the next command. He knows it's coming. You wait for a few more seconds, then step forward again, holding your hand out in front of you in a calm, authoritative gesture. "Stay." Drogon remains seated, his eyes unwavering, his muscles tense but not moving. You hold your breath for a moment, watching him carefully. If he moves, if he gets up too soon, you'll have to start over. This lesson requires patience and consistency. Finally, after what seems like an eternity, Drogon shifts his weight but stays seated. He's obeying. The pride you feel swells in your chest, but you know that this is only a small victory. One lesson does not mean he has learned. It will take time, patience, and repetition before the dragons will respond reliably to every command. You step forward again, approaching Drogon with slow, deliberate movements. His head lifts slightly as you reach out to him, your hand gently touching the curve of his neck. His scales are warm, the fire inside him barely contained, but for now, it's subdued, focused on the task at hand. "Good, Drogon," you murmur, rewarding him with a soft pat on the side of his neck. "You've done well." You pause for a moment, letting the quiet settle in. The dragon's breathing is calm again, his massive body still as he sits, waiting for whatever comes next. It's moments like these, small, quiet victories, that remind you of the delicate balance you must maintain with these creatures. They are not pets, not beasts to be tamed. They are powerful, ancient beings, and they require respect, patience, and care. As you stand there, watching Drogon's deep gaze, you realize that today's lesson is just one step toward a deeper understanding, not just between you and him, but between all of you. With each passing day, you grow more attuned to their moods, their needs, their very nature. And with each lesson, you take one more step toward mastering the art of being a dragon keeper. With Drogon now seated and calm, you take a moment to let the lesson settle. The stable is quiet again, the only sound being the soft scrape of the broom against the stone floor in the far corner, where the other dragons are beginning to stir. Regal stretches his wings, a soft rustling filling the air as his green scales catch the light. Viserion remains curled, but his eyes flicker open, alert and attentive. It's time to move on. You shift your focus, moving towards Regal. His golden eyes watch you as you approach, the weight of his gaze both intense and calculating. Unlike Drogon, Regal has always been more responsive to commands, more eager to engage. But that doesn't mean he doesn't test boundaries. The dragons will always test their limits, and it's up to you to maintain control. Regal's gaze follows you as you prepare the training space, marking the next exercise. Recall and release. This command is essential, especially when working with the dragons in open spaces. The ability to call them back, to make them return to you in the middle of their flight or when distracted by something else, could mean the difference between control and chaos. "Regal," you say softly, your voice steady. The green dragon doesn't need much prompting. He's already rising, his massive body stretching toward the ceiling, his wings unfolding with a soft rustle. His body is built for speed, and you know he's eager to begin. You move back to the center of the stable, stepping slowly, maintaining eye contact. Regal's eyes track your movements. The golden iris is narrowing slightly as he prepares himself. You wait for him to make the first move, knowing the dragons like Regal respond best when they are given a moment to make the decision themselves. You give the signal. Come! Regal hesitates for a brief moment, his muscles tensing as if considering whether or not to comply. But the call is clear, and after a moment of pause, he bounds forward, his enormous paws thudding softly against the stone floor. You stand firm, watching his every move as he approaches. Good, you praise, your voice steady and calm. Stay. Regal halts immediately, his golden eyes focused intently on you. He remains in place, his tail flicking slightly in the air. There's a tension in his body, a readiness to move, but he's obeying. For a moment, the only sound in the stable is his breathing, deep and even. You take a step back, maintaining the connection, your eyes never leaving his. The challenge now is to test his ability to remain still. Regal, though swift and energetic, has learned to be patient when required. It's not an easy task. Dragons are creatures of instinct, and their attention can wander easily. Stay, you repeat, firming your tone as you step farther away from him. For a long moment, Regal doesn't move. You wait, watching him closely, your body tense with a quiet anticipation of what might come next. Finally, after what feels like an eternity, Regal takes a slow, measured step forward. His wings flutter once, a soft, subtle motion as if he's testing his freedom. You don't hesitate. Return, you command. At once, Regal's attention snaps back to you. With a single powerful push of his legs, he lunges forward, his body moving with a fluid grace that belies his immense size. The air in the stable shifts with his movement, the faint rustling of his wings stirring the air. He's fast, far faster than you expected. You raise the staff to guide him, using it to direct his movements and remind him to focus. Good, Regal, you say, nodding as he returns to you. The joy of success is evident in his eyes, the golden hue of his gaze bright and alert. You reward him with a soft touch along his neck, acknowledging the precision of his response. He rests for a moment, his head lowering as if pleased with himself. It's a small victory, but a victory nonetheless. Each command, each lesson, brings you closer to the goal of a smooth and controlled relationship. The dragons will always retain their wild nature, their innate strength, but with patience, they can be taught to cooperate, to respond to the commands of their keeper. As you step back, preparing to end the lesson, you notice Viserion has finally risen from his slumber. His silver scales shimmer in the soft light, and his head swivels toward you as if waiting for his turn. You pause, considering. Viserion is a little more unpredictable than his brothers. He's the one who requires more time, more care, and more understanding. But today isn't the day for that. Today, you focus on the progress made. You've made headway with Drogon's initial response, and Regal has passed his training with flying colors. Viserion can wait. With a final touch on Regal's head, you speak gently. Good boy. Rest now. The dragons settle once more, their breathing steady and even. It's time to let the quiet return. The training is over for the day, but the bond that's been built today will carry over into the days to come. The training is done for the day, but the quiet satisfaction of the lesson lingers in the air. The dragons, having completed their tasks, now rest in their familiar corners of the stable, their great bodies settled on the stone floor, their breathing slow and steady. You step back from the center of the room, watching them for a moment, feeling a sense of peace settle over you. Drogon remains where he has been all along, curled in the corner, his massive form barely shifting. His eyes are closed, his breathing even, but there's an air of awareness about him, as if he's always listening, always watching. Regal is in a similar state, resting quietly but still alert, his green scales shining softly in the muted light. Viserion, his silver scales gleaming faintly, shifts occasionally, but otherwise remains at rest, his body stretched out and relaxed. You take a deep breath, the scent of dragon fire and fresh hay filling your lungs. It's a mixture you've grown accustomed to, a scent that signals the end of a hard day's work. The dragons are calm now, their energy spent for the moment. There's no need for any more commands, no need for any more tests. Today, they've proven themselves to be responsive, patient, and obedient. As you move to the far side of the stable, you gather the trained tools, your staff, your whip, the leather straps, and set them aside. The task now is not to work, but to reflect. The dragons are powerful, wild beings, but you've learned, over time, how to communicate with them. The training sessions are necessary, but so is the quiet time. The time spent with them, when they are simply resting, when they are just creatures in their own right, not warriors or beasts, but something more. You walk over to Drogon, your footsteps soft on the stone floor. His head remains low, his body curled in a resting position. For a moment, you simply watch him. There is a deep calm in the way his chest rises and falls, the gentle rhythm of his breathing. It's easy to forget, sometimes, that this creature, who could level entire cities with a single breath, is capable of such stillness, such peace. You reach out and gently place your hand on his side, feeling the warmth of his scales beneath your fingers. Drogon's body tenses slightly, but it's a momentary reaction. He seems to understand that you mean no harm. His eyes open slowly, locking with yours. For a long moment, the two of you simply share the silence. There's no need for words, no need for commands. It's a simple, quiet connection that has been built over time, forged through trust, patience, and care. The rest of the stable is still. Even Regal and Viserion, who are known for their restlessness, remain in their places, content in the peacefulness of the moment. The training is over, but the bond between keeper and dragon remains, stronger than it was before. You take a few steps back, letting Drogon settle once more, and move toward the exit of the stable. As you leave, you glance back one last time. The dragons are at rest, and you've done your part for the day. They've responded to your commands, they've proven their understanding, and now you can give them the time they need to recharge, to rest. The day in Meereen continues outside, the sounds of the city rising in the distance. But inside the stable, it's different. Here, the world slows down. The dragons rest, and you, too, find a moment of peace. The city of Meereen wakes slowly, as it always does, but today feels different. The heat of the sun creeps over the horizon, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink, casting a gentle light over the stone streets and towering walls. The hustle and bustle of the city begins to rise, but there's a strange calm in the air. For now, the dragons are still at rest, their breathing deep and slow in the quiet of the stable. Inside the stable, you begin the day as you always do. The first step is simple. Check on the dragons. Drogon, Regal, and Viserion remain undisturbed, sprawled in their familiar spots. There's a moment of peace that stretches through the space, a stillness that is rare in the world outside. The dragons are calm, and for now, the day is quiet. The usual sounds of the marketplace, the calls of merchants, the clatter of wagons, all seem distant. It's as if time is moving more slowly, a pause before whatever comes next. You take a deep breath, inhaling the familiar scent of dragon fire and hay, the mixture of earthiness and warmth that fills the air. There's comfort in the routine, the way the stable feels like a world unto itself, removed from the chaos outside. For a brief moment, you allow yourself to enjoy the tranquility of it. There is no training today, no commands to be given, just the simple act of ensuring the dragons are well and their space is clean. The stable feels peaceful today, the silence almost heavy in its presence. The dragons remain undisturbed, their bodies relax as they sleep. You can hear their steady breathing, the occasional rustling of their wings, the soft scratch of claws on stone. Even in their sleep, the dragons are alive with energy, a reminder of the power that lies beneath their calm exteriors. You move quietly around the stable, taking care to not disturb them too much. You sweep the floor, removing the stray bits of hay and dust that have gathered overnight. It's a simple task, but it gives you time to reflect, time to think about the days ahead. Today feels like a quiet day, a rare moment of peace before the storm of duties that are always lurking on the horizon. The world of Meereen is never truly still, and you know that there will be moments of chaos again soon. But for now, there is calm, and that's something to appreciate. As you finish your tasks, you take a moment to look at the dragons again. Drogon's dark form, Regal's emerald scales, and Viserion's silvery shimmer. Each of them is a marvel in their own right. They may be fierce, they may be wild, but in moments like this, they are simply creatures of rest, taking a pause from their powerful existence. You step back, allowing the dragons to continue their sleep. For now, there is nothing else to do but wait for the day to unfold. The calm before the storm is here, and you know that you must savor it while it lasts. The quiet stretches on as the morning passes, the stable bathed in soft sunlight, its warmth gradually creeping across the floor. The dragons remain undisturbed, their breathing slow and steady. The usual sounds of the city are distant, almost as if they belong to a different world, far removed from the peaceful serenity of the stable. You're lost in the rhythm of your work, sweeping and tidying up the last of the hay. Each task is methodical, almost meditative, as you allow your thoughts to wander. There's something grounding in these moments, something familiar and comforting in the act of caring for these ancient creatures. Their stillness, their quiet power, is a gentle reminder that you are part of something much larger than yourself. But just as the day seems to stretch on in a comfortable silence, a sound breaks through the calm. At first, it's faint, a rustling at the entrance to the stable, the soft clip of boots on the stone floor. You pause, turning your head toward the doorway. The dragons remain still, their eyes closed, but the atmosphere has shifted slightly. The dragons can feel it too, their ears twitching subtly, their bodies tense, though they remain relaxed. A figure appears at the entrance. It's Missandei, Daenerys' trusted advisor and close confidant. She steps into the stable with a quiet grace, her presence always calm yet commanding. You nod in greeting, watching her as she moves toward you. She's wearing her usual attire, simple but functional, her dark hair pulled back into a tight braid. "Good morning," she says softly, her voice as gentle as the quiet that fills the stable. "I hope I'm not disturbing you." "Not at all," you reply, offering a small smile. "It's a peaceful morning." She steps closer, her eyes scanning the dragons as she approaches. Drogon stirs slightly at her presence, his nostrils flaring ever so slightly, but he does not move. Missandei's gaze lingers on him, a quiet respect in her expression. "I've come to ask for your assistance," she says after a moment, her tone serious but measured. "Daenerys has requested that you join us for a meeting this afternoon. There are some matters to discuss regarding the city's security, and she believes your insight into the dragons might be valuable." You nod, understanding the weight of her words. As much as you enjoy the tranquility of the stable, you know that the world beyond it waits for no one. Daenerys has been working tirelessly to maintain order in Meereen, and her dragons, powerful and unpredictable as they are key to her rule. "I'll be there," you reply. "Is there anything specific she needs from me?" Missandei hesitates for a moment before speaking. She wishes for you to join her in the discussion about the dragon's role in the city. There are whispers of unrest among the people. Some are frightened by their presence. Others believe that the dragons should be used more forcefully. The news is not surprising. The dragons are powerful, yes, but their very presence is a double-edged sword. To some, they are symbols of strength and hope, but to others, they are reminders of destruction and fear. The balance Daenerys must maintain is delicate. I'll speak with her, you say, sensing the gravity of the situation. And the dragons? Daenerys wants to ensure they are well cared for, of course. But there's a growing concern about how best to handle their power. It's a complex issue. You pause, taking in Missandei's words. The task at hand is more than just caring for the dragons. It's about finding a way to integrate them into the city's future without overwhelming the people. The dragons cannot be ignored, but they also cannot rule over Meereen with fear. I'll make sure the dragons are prepared for the meeting, you say, already thinking about how best to approach the conversation with Daenerys. There's a lot to consider, and today's quiet has been a reminder of just how important it is to keep the dragons balanced in both their power and their presence. Missandei offers a small, appreciative smile. Thank you. I'll let Daenerys know you'll join us. With a final nod, she turns to leave, but pauses at the entrance to the stable. Take care of them, she adds softly, gesturing to the dragons. And take care of yourself. The next few days may not be as peaceful. You watch as she leaves, the quiet settling back into the stable. The dragons remain where they are, unaware of the conversation that just transpired, their steady breaths the only sign that they're alive. You move toward them, your hand gently resting on Drogon's side, feeling the warmth of the scales beneath your fingertips. The weight of the situation settles in your chest. Daenerys' request to speak about the dragon's future means that things are changing, and the calm you've grown accustomed to may soon be a memory. For now, though, you take a deep breath, letting the quiet surround you again. The day ahead will bring new challenges, but for now, there's still time to prepare, to ensure the dragons remain balanced, and that you are ready for whatever comes next. The sound of the stable door closing behind Missandei lingers for a moment, a subtle reminder that the calm you've been enjoying is fleeting. The dragons remain unmoved, their slow, rhythmic breathing the only sound filling the space. Yet, your mind is already shifting toward the meeting that awaits later in the day. You take a moment to collect yourself, standing still for a few breaths, letting the weight of the conversation with Missandei sink in. The dragons are still here, still under your care, but the implications of their role in Meereen are becoming more pressing. It's clear that Daenerys' vision of peace and stability in the city cannot be fully realized without addressing the uneasy balance between the dragons and the people of Meereen. You have witnessed firsthand the power of these creatures, and while their beauty and strength are undeniable, their mere presence can stir fear, even in the most stoic of citizens. You move quietly through the stable, checking on each dragon, ensuring they are comfortable and ready for whatever might come next. First, you approach Drogon. He's the largest, the most imposing of the three, and the one who requires the most attention. His dark form is sprawled across the stone floor, his massive wings folded neatly against his sides. His eyes flicker open as you approach, his dark gaze meeting yours. "Good morning, Drogon," you say softly, running a hand along his side. The warmth of his scales is familiar and reassuring, but it's also a reminder of the power he possesses. Drogon stirs slightly, lifting his head as if to acknowledge you, his body shifting beneath you as he stretches his wings. The soft rustle of his leathery wings fills the quiet space. You give him a gentle pat, a sign of respect. "Rest for now," you murmur. "I'll take care of you later." Next, you move to Regal. The green dragon has always been more responsive to your presence, and today, his golden eyes meet yours as you approach. He stretches his long, serpentine body, his wings unfurling slightly as he stretches to his full length. There's something elegant about Regal, a quiet grace in his movements that makes him different from Drogon's raw power. "You're looking well, Regal," you whisper as you reach out to him. His large head lowers slightly as if in acknowledgement. He allows you to run your hand along his neck, the coolness of his scales a stark contrast to Drogon's warmth. "You'll be a part of the meeting today," you add, as if speaking to both Regal and yourself. "We'll need to make sure everything is in order." Finally, you move to Viserion, the silver dragon. He's always been the most reserved of the three, his silvery scales almost ethereal in the dim light of the stable. His eyes open slowly, the pale blue of his irises glimmering faintly as he watches you. There's an almost haunting beauty to him, and a deep intelligence that is often hidden beneath his quiet exterior. "Viserion," you say softly, stepping closer to him. "We have work to do today." You gently place your hand on his flank, feeling the power beneath his surface. Despite his calm demeanor, Viserion is a creature of untapped potential, as dangerous and unpredictable as his brothers. The key to managing them, you've learned, is never to underestimate their ability to surprise you, to move swiftly when least expected. With the dragon settled and ready, you step back, taking in the sight of the three of them resting peacefully in the stable. They are magnificent creatures, each one unique in their own way, yet bound by their shared power and connection to Daenerys. You can't help but feel a deep sense of responsibility as their keeper. The meeting with Daenerys today isn't just about the dragons. It's about the future of Meereen, and the role these creatures will play in it. You've seen firsthand how they can sway the course of events, and you know that the decisions made today could have far-reaching consequences. As you move toward the stable door, you pause for a moment to look back at the dragons. Drogon's eyes are half closed, his breathing slow and steady. Regal's golden gaze follows you as you move, and Viserion remains still, his body almost blending into the shadows of the stable. "Rest," you say quietly, your voice soft. "I'll return soon." The stable feels serene, almost suspended in time. It's a stark contrast to the city outside, where unrest brews, and the weight of decisions looms over you. But for now, the dragons are calm, and so are you. You step outside into the warmth of the morning sun, ready to face what comes next. The streets of Meereen are busier now, as the day stretches into the afternoon. The sounds of the marketplace are louder, the hustle of the city rising to meet the warmth of the sun. Yet, as you walk through the streets, there's a strange tension in the air. The people go about their day, but there's a quiet undercurrent of unease. The presence of the dragons, of Daenerys, has changed everything, some for the better, but not all. As you approach the grand palace, the familiar sight of its towering walls and elaborate carvings feels like a reminder of everything at stake. Daenerys has done so much for the city, but the path forward is uncertain. The dragons play an integral part in her vision, but they also bring fear to those who don't understand them. It's a delicate balance, and the weight of it settles on your shoulders as you step through the gates. Inside, the air is cooler, and the sounds of the city fade into the background. You're led to a private room where Daenerys waits. The room is simple but grand, its stone walls adorned with tapestries of her family's history. There's a large table in the center, and Daenerys stands by it, her back to the door, as she gazes out the window, her silver hair catching the light. She turns as you enter, her gaze steady but not unwelcoming. There's a quiet power about her, the kind that comes from years of struggle, of surviving, and of learning how to lead. "You're here," she says, her voice calm but firm. She gestures for you to approach. "Come, sit with me. We have much to discuss." You take a seat across from her, the table between you. Missandei, who had been with you earlier, stands by the door, her presence a quiet reminder of the support Daenerys has from those who serve her. "I'm glad you could join me today," Daenerys continues, her eyes meeting yours. I've been hearing whispers from the people. Some are grateful for the dragons, others are afraid of them. Some want us to use them more forcefully to assert our control over the city. You nod, understanding the complexity of the situation. The dragons are powerful, yes, but that power is a double-edged sword. While they can bring security, they can also bring destruction. And for the people of Meereen, who have only recently been freed from slavery and war, the dragons are still a symbol of something foreign, something dangerous. I know how difficult it is to balance their power with the needs of the people. Daenerys continues. They are symbols of strength, but also of fear. How can I ensure they are respected without becoming tyrants? The question lingers in the air, and you take a moment to consider your response. You've been working with the dragons for some time now, understanding their behaviors, their needs, and their potential. But even with that knowledge, there is no simple answer. The dragons are not just weapons to be wielded. You begin, your voice steady but thoughtful. They are living beings, creatures of immense power, yes, but also creatures of emotion and instinct. To use them solely as a means of control would be a mistake. You have to guide them, to earn their trust, and let the people see that you are in control, not the dragons themselves. Daenerys listens intently, her gaze never leaving you. She's quiet for a moment, considering your words. Then, she nods slowly. You're right, she says finally, her voice soft but resolute. I cannot allow fear to drive my rule. I need the people of Meereen to understand that I am here to bring peace, not domination. But I also need to show them that I am capable of protecting them, that my dragons are not just for war, but for the future of this city. You nod, understanding the weight of her words. It will take time. The dragons will need to be shown as protectors, not conquerors. Their presence should inspire trust, not fear. The people must see that they are part of the city, not outside of it. There's a long pause as Daenerys considers your words. You can see the weight of the decision in her eyes, the responsibility of leadership bearing down on her. But she is Daenerys Targaryen, the last of the dragons, the mother of dragons. Her resolve is unshakable. I will need your help with this, she says, her voice steady. I want the dragons to be seen as symbols of strength and protection, not destruction. Will you help me in this? You don't hesitate. Of course. Her eyes soften, and for a brief moment, the weight of the world that she carries seems to lighten just a little. Thank you, she says quietly. The dragons are my greatest allies, but they are also a reflection of me. I will guide them, and they will guide me. Together, we will find a way to lead the city, to make it truly free. The conversation lingers in the air, the room silent for a moment. The dragons, you know, will always be at the heart of Daenerys' rule. They are both a gift and a challenge, but with time and patience, they will become something more, a symbol of hope, not fear. As you prepare to leave, Daenerys stands and walks toward the window once more, her gaze drifting out over the city she has claimed. Meereen will be stronger for this, she says softly, almost to herself. With the dragons at my side, and the people behind me, we will create a future of peace. One day at a time. You leave the room, feeling the weight of the conversation settling into your chest. The dragons are not just creatures of fire and flight. They are a reflection of the world Daenerys is trying to build. And as their keeper, you will be there every step of the way. As the day settles into night, you find yourself once again in the quiet of the stable. The dragons are at rest, their breathing steady and calm, their immense forms still beneath the dim light. The weight of the day's events lingers in the air, but here, in this peaceful space, there is a sense of calm. The city of Meereen continues its rhythm outside, filled with its constant bustle, its layers of conflict and hope. But here, in the stable, there is only peace. The dragons, ever watchful and powerful, remain creatures of great mystery, but also of great potential. Their place in this city, in Daenerys' vision, is still being defined, but they will play a crucial role in the days to come. You stand in the doorway of the stable for a long moment, looking out at the city. The quiet connection between you and the dragons, the trust that has been built over time, feels like a small but vital piece of the larger puzzle. As their keeper, you are not just caring for these creatures, you are helping shape the future of Meereen. The quiet moments of today, the peace within the stable, are a reminder that amidst the unrest and uncertainty of the world outside, there are still moments of calm. There are still moments where the dragons, the very symbols of power and fire, rest and breathe easy. And in those moments, you find your own peace. As the stars begin to fill the sky above Meereen, you take a final look at the dragons, knowing that tomorrow will bring new challenges, new decisions. But for now, the stable is peaceful, and that peace for today is enough. And with that, the story closes, letting you drift into the quiet tranquility of the dragon's rest, ready to face whatever tomorrow may bring.